The fallout of the assassination of Charlie Kirk has included a swift and organized campaign to target and demonize a significant portion of the country, using the horrific event as a catalyst for what appears to be a very large leap further into authoritarianism due to what they claim is violence and dangerous rhetoric coming from the left. And because the shooter, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, didn't fall into a category that they could exploit, the focus turned back onto anyone who wasn't mourning properly or being even slightly critical of Charlie Kirk by, using his own words or previous statements. Tracking websites were launched. People started losing their jobs, from average Joes to reporters and contributors to major news outlets, all for even bringing up the fact that Mr. Kirk had some pretty controversial opinions. People have started reporting businesses for not lowering their flags to honor the podcaster. Social media apps and services are currently being monitored, and the Trump administration has announced that they'll be targeting their political enemies in honor of Kirk.
They're literally just driving around town looking for flags that are not at half-mast and then going into the gas station or whatever it is and getting in their face and being like, why do you hate America?
Or calling the authorities and saying, well, I got one. They didn't put their flag down. You need to come. Everyone needs to boycott the business.
It's very, they got a fun little game for this week, I guess.
Yeah, so to answer the question that no one asked, no, things are not going well here in America.
No, it's accelerating.
Yeah, everything is, there's a lot going on, and all of it is pretty bad.
Yeah, so since we left you, there has been a deluge of information about the shooter, both real and completely fabricated. But while everyone's fighting over a potential motive and digging into his family history, politicians and large media companies were shifting their focus to reactions from the left that they claim glorified and celebrated the shooting. And we already spoke about the contributor to MSNBC being fired for simply talking about the political climate that could lead to something like this, and Charlie Kirk's role in that political climate. Yeah. And a lot of other outlets are letting go of their staff for writing anything that could be interpreted as negative by people whose entire goal is to interpret it negatively.
Yeah, they're actively looking for this, and anything that doesn't pass their smell test is reported as glorifying a murder.
In some cases, just simply transcribing Charlie Kirk's own words. Anything less than adulation and grief is seen as disrespect
and an attack on them personally.
It's dangerous rhetoric from the left. There's, of course, been calls for a civil war, calls for violence and retribution against groups of people who had nothing to do with any of this. But that doesn't seem to matter, because the reaction over the weekend has shown that this administration's just going to use this moment to crack down on their political opponents, and they've thrown all pretense out the window. Yeah. They're doing it. The president himself claimed that he simply couldn't care less when asked about unifying the country right now.
How do we fix this country? How do we come back together?
I'll tell you something that's going to get me in trouble, but I couldn't care less. The radicals on the right oftentimes are radical because they don't want to see crime.
And that obviously seems like the same kind of rhetoric that you would think people would say should be toned down. But Trump's words on Fox News were nothing compared to the return of Charlie Kirk's podcast on Monday.
He has risen?
No, it featured a special guest host, Vice President of the United States of America, J.D. Vance, who was joined by Stephen Miller, who then used his time on the show to claim that Charlie Kirk's last wish was to dismantle violent left-wing organizations in America.
It is a vast domestic terror movement. And with God as my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people. It will happen, and we will do it in Charlie's name.
Okay.
Which ones would those be?
And also that the Trump administration is going to grant that last wish, at one point labeling the left as domestic terrorists, which is funny because that's what the Republican Party correctly labeled themselves during CPAC in 2022.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are all domestic terrorists.
What's not funny is how their plan to tamp down on free speech, protests, and especially nonviolent political action just got majorly supercharged. First of all, yes, this is all without mentioning how bizarre it is that the Vice President of the United States was joined by other administration officials to guest host a podcast focused on the restriction of free speech in place of a guy who was killed less than a week ago.
I mean, this is the podcast regime. All of these guys wish they were podcasting and not having to do actual jobs. So I bet when this topic was floated, I bet so many people in this administration were like, me. Can I host it, please?
Yes, this is...
Kash Patel, I'm sure, was just pissed that J.D. Vance got to rock the mic. Damn Bongino.
All I can say about this moment is that it is very unique to this moment. That this is something that could only happen right now, and it is bizarre from a historical standpoint, but I guess it's where we're at, that the vice president of the United States is taking over the chair of the podcaster who was just assassinated.
Sure, yeah, the independent journalist who was not at all just like the unofficial like spokesman and propagandist of this regime.
Yeah, that's becoming more and more apparent like,
Yeah.
how they're taking this. Also, yeah, when you say that a lot of this administration wants to be podcasters, we've seen proof of that by the people in the administration who were podcasters who are very upset that they're not currently podcasting.
Well, that's what I'm
and
saying.
are talking about how miserable their lives are now that they have to do an actual
That's what
job.
I'm saying. They're all pissed. They got to clock in.
Yeah.
They got
Dan Bongino is
They got to
so
look
angry.
at files. They got to get on phone calls and listen to like boring fucking shit. They want back in the chair. They want back behind the mic.
Dan Bongino specifically was the most upset when he found out that the guy who he thought he'd be exonerating from the Jeffrey Epstein files was in fact the one who was the most heavily implicated.
He's
in those
been
files.
going through it.
Anyways, here's the New York Times with more on the what's essentially a vice presidential address to the nation, I guess.
Fireside chat. President Trump and his top advisors threatened on Monday to unleash the power of the federal government to punish what they alleged was a left-wing network that funds and incites violence, seizing on Charlie Kirk's killing to make broad and unsubstantiated claims about their political opponents. Mr. Trump, who has downplayed violence from right-wing or other supporters, said that he would like to designate a range of groups, including the loosely affiliated group of far-left anti-fascism activists known as Antifa. I'm going to stop you there, because loosely affiliated is, you are, even calling it loosely affiliated is giving it too much credit.
Yeah.
There's no hotline for Antifa.
Yeah.
It's little groups of people from town to town. You're not taking down Antifa. I'm sorry. As domestic terrorists and bringing racketeering cases against people funding protests. Again, what? That's not a thing. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder, Mr. Trump said, without naming additional groups. He added that he was talking to the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, about bringing charges under the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. RICO?
Yep.
They're using RICO?
Against Antifa.
Against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. He did not specify who or what he was talking about, because he can't, because that's not a fucking thing.
Yeah, J.D. Vance on the Charlie Kirk podcast mentioned George Soros by name, like right out of the gate.
Okay, George Soros is 150 years old. He doesn't know his own name. What are you talking about?
It continues, several other officials from Vice President J.D. Vance on down made it clear on Monday that they believed that political violence was a liberal problem and not a conservative one. They used Mr. Kirk's podcast with Mr. Vance as guest host to announce that they would be cracking down on what they called leftist non-governmental organizations and that they would use every available lever of the federal government to do so. Mr. Vance said the administration would not go after constitutionally protected speech, but rather what he described as a network of nonprofit, non-governmental organizations that foments and facilitates and engages in violence.
You'd think if this was a real thing and not the boogeyman that hides in their closet at night, they'd have a single actual name of an organization beyond just George Soros. Boo.
Yeah. They went further, endorsing the plan of exposing people who post something others find offensive, with Vance calling them terrorist sympathizers and suggesting that people do call their employers. When you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer, Vance said. We don't believe in political violence, but we do believe in civility. And there is no civility in the celebration of political assassination.
Get up, pick up the phone, Karen. It's time. It's time
Make a cash call.
to make a cash call.
To Kash Patel.
Now, all of this is, of course, extremely ironic. Not only because Trump almost immediately brushed off a question about his dear friend, instead pivoting to a conversation about the White House ballroom just days after Charlie Kirk's death, but the double standard that everyone is publicly participating in here. The left, whatever that actually is in their heads, is apparently the violent enemy who needs to tone down their rhetoric. But even early on in this case, we saw how bloodthirsty Republicans had become when they thought that the shooter might have been trans. And even though that's not true, and with no real clear motive being found yet, the right is still calling for an all-out war on this perceived enemy. They had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of examples about the double standard in politics and media recently, but a clip of Fox News host Brian Kilmead from this past weekend really makes things clear. In the clip, Kilmead suggests killing homeless people as a potential way to solve the mental health crisis in America.
That you got to be locked up in jail. That's the way it has to be now.
Or involuntary lethal injection or something. Just kill him.
Yeah, Brian, why did it have to get to this point?
Right.
Yeah, you might have thought, oh, he maybe he alludes. No, he just straight up says it.
He just says it.
He says it and then he repeats it.
And this is coming directly at a time where the right in this country is accusing those on the left of
well, that's not
violent
rhetoric. It's not violent rhetoric. It's just common sense, folks. I mean, and again, like the biggest act of political violence of the last, at least my lifetime, happened 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Anyway, January 6th. It was, and you just let all those people out. Many of whom have gone on to commit other crimes, pretty nasty ones too. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It rings hollow. But yeah, in that clip of Brian Kilmead, you have an actual host of a mainstream news organization endorsing involuntary lethal injections for other human beings. And did he lose his job? No, of course fucking not. He issued an apology. He went on with his day. And then a few days later, host Greg Gutfeld, with an exclamation point, Gutfeld, he called the assassination of Minnesota Democratic State Representative a bullshit example of political violence.
None of us were spending every single day talking about Mrs. Hortman. I never heard of her until after she died.
She doesn't matter?
Don't play that bullshit with me.
Yes, Trump, in a clip that makes the double standard even more painfully obvious, seemingly has no idea who Melissa Hortman even is when asked about the assassination of her and her husband back in June. The reporter asked Trump, in retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk, do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to half-staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar.
The Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat, who was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that. But the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I didn't. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I would have if somebody had asked me. People make requests for the lowering of flag, and oftentimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly.
And Trump famously refused to call the governor because he claimed Walz was a, quote, whacked out mess.
Yeah, and he said it would be a waste of time.
It would be a waste of time. And look, he's not wrong about the part where if every American tragedy resulted in the lowering of the American flag, it would never go back up.
I mean, honestly, I would not be opposed to just keeping all American flags at half-mast.
Until we get this all figured out.
Indefinitely. Yeah, I figure that's fine. But when it comes to speculation on the motive, the unofficial consensus from people like Utah Governor Spencer Cox and other experts seems to indicate that this was at least partially influenced by the suspect's affinity for Vidya Games, that is.
Ah, old reliable.
That's right. We're dusting it off, baby. Mm-hmm. So you're telling me someone in their 20s plays video games?
Sounds pretty suspicious if you ask me.
Yeah, that's immediately sending off red flags, folks. That's got to be it. And for a real throwback, here's Geraldo Rivera and his mustache with a totally bizarre tweet reminiscent of the violent video game hysteria of the 1990s. Whether Tyler Robinson faces a firing squad in Utah for the murder of Charlie Kirk, my guess is the accused killer will probably have been motivated more by Halo and similar fantasy roleplay than by substantive political discord. The game features grunts versus elites. I'm guessing nobody wants to be an elite.
What does that take? It's bizarre.
He didn't play Halo.
Touch.
He played Helldivers.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have PvP in it.
Yeah, it is an outdated, ridiculous claim based on nothing other than the fact that he clearly did play video games like any 22-year-old would.
Yeah. I love going after Halo. Like, not even Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Halo.
The one that happens up in outer space.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Then we have to assume that he did the smug Judge Janine pose after posting that tweet.
Yeah.
Thanks for the incredible insight, Geraldo. Definitely too much Halo.
Yep.
Right.
We should ban Halo.
We should.
Yeah. Elsewhere, far-right commenters like Steve Bannon and Candace Owens are just free to publicly peddle conspiracy theories about the shooting and the suspect, with Bannon posting a list of things that he does find extremely suspicious about the aftermath, and Candace Owens seeming to allude to a coordinated plot against Kirk that involved Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Okay.
Now, meanwhile, the crackdown on average American speech has once again been brought to the forefront, with reports that the FBI is already monitoring apps and services for people that might be glorifying or supporting or whatever you want to call it, this shooting, because their definition of this, as we've seen, is pretty malleable. They kind of just take whatever they think fits into a glorification tub and throw it in there, even if it is quite literally just someone reading back the reaction that Charlie Kirk had to George Floyd being killed.
Yeah. How dare you? How dare you read the actual words said by a man who, lest we forget, was murdered?
Ken Klippenstein goes into great detail about their monitoring operations, and we'll leave a link to his article below, but here's a small part of his reporting. 5 hours after Charlie Kirk was shot this week, an Atlanta man got a phone call from an Illinois police officer asking about a photo he shared with a couple of close friends on a private Discord chat. The Atlanta man, who asked not to be identified, says the post was merely a confirmation that he had purchased the same t-shirt that the accused killer wore from an Illinois-based online shop. The police officer told him that he was following up on an active FBI investigation of Kirk's assassination and warned that due to the political climate, posting such a photo was ill-advised. The Atlanta man was confused and disturbed, he told me, that the police learned so quickly of his purchase and also knew of his private Discord post.
Yeah, that's
the live active monitoring.
Crazy.
Yeah. Which I would assume is like,
how would that even logistically would they even do that? I don't understand.
it has to.
There's so
it
many
has to be
Discord
like
chats.
I'm assuming that they probably have full and unfettered access to it, but also it's probably like some kind of like image recognition thing where he posted the shirt and it was like, that's the shirt that the guy posted or was wearing.
That's still I don't get it, because I'm assuming even people who are just like talking about the news
We're sharing photos of the news.
Yeah, so this is, I just don't get it.
It had to have pinged from like the sale of the online shop and that guy turning over his records.
I guess, because the few times I ever pop into the Internet's Day Discord, I just feel old as shit. I can't even follow one Discord chat.
Yeah, no, I'm very far
I'm
behind.
I don't know how anyone can have a fucking conversation in here. And you're telling me these little.
Well, this goes
Discord
further
chats
because
are getting-
this was apparently in a private Discord. A private Discord chat, maybe not even in a channel, but a discussion
person
between friends.
to person. Yeah, that's
What I assume is that they went after the shirt seller and asked for every person that they sold that shirt to, and then they immediately just went and
Why would they talk? Why would they tell them it was Discord then?
they probably have a file on fucking. If I had to assume,
Why not just say we know you bought the shirt? This is fucking weird. I don't like it. Anyway, it continues. It makes sense that investigators might be interested in discovering an accomplice or a conspiracy, but when an investigation jumps from Utah to Illinois to Atlanta, it also makes sense to ask the authorities what exactly they are investigating. Social media companies are generally forbidden by law from divulging users' private communications to the government without a traditional legal process, e.g. court order. But there's an exception. In perceived emergencies, social media platforms can proactively and voluntarily hand over private messages in response to what's called an emergency disclosure request. Discord, I am told, did not respond to any EDR here, but when I asked them directly if they had provided law enforcement with information to the traditional legal process, they declined to respond on record.
huh?
That is very strange. So, Ken, he then states plainly, the FBI or the intelligence community evidently is monitoring Discord private messaging, even from people who have broken no law.
Yeah.
Not great. And now, with the statements coming directly from Vice President J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller that they'll be targeting these groups directly, it looks like there will be serious crackdowns on political dissent in the immediate future, for one side, of course.
Yeah. They're certainly using this moment to do something that they had planned on doing anyway.
I saw a tremendous graph, a beautiful graph today on Blue Sky. It was just counting the number of times elected Republicans have used the word evil in emails sent out to people on their email list compared to elected Democrats, and it's night and day. They're calling shit evil all the fucking time.
Well, yeah, and it's just obvious based on the coverage of the last week alone. Just look at where the vitriol is coming from. And, for their part, obviously a lot of news agencies are completely dropping the ball and unprepared to report on something like this, especially when it comes from the dregs of the internet. But even the most quote unquote left leaning or liberal news outlets are treating this whole thing with the most sensitive baby gloves that they possibly can out of a clear abundance of caution.
Yeah.
Based on the actions of a administration that has already sued multiple outlets for even brushing up against his administration even slightly. So like the idea that there's so much of this like hatred and vitriol coming out of the left is absurd, especially when you're presented with clips of like Fox News and Republicans themselves on a daily basis screaming at the top of their lungs about this and demanding retribution.
Yeah. Also, like, whatever they're doing, it's not working. Not even looking for it, not even seeking it out.
Yeah.
I'll just be scrolling on Instagram and see, like, so fucking, not necessarily, like, saying Charlie Kirk was a bad guy, but very much, like, making a big fucking joke out of this in a way where I'm like, damn, okay. And that shit's up there getting millions of views, and I don't know. Man. Yeah. I guess, like, there is a mask of irony. The Zoomers are kind of right about that one. Just never be fucking serious about anything, and they can't get mad at you,
I guess.
So anyway, obviously it's been an incredibly intense week and weekend, and there are no signs of that slowing. But since we should probably put something in between the fallout of an assassination and our sponsored ad reads, here's a story about a cheating scandal that has embroiled professional rock skipping. That's right, folks. Nothing is sacred. Even a tournament that is strictly held for glory can also be sullied.
Yeah, there's not even a monetary reward for this. This is all the love of the game, and people still cheated.
Over on the Scottish Isle of Easdale, I'm sure it's pronounced differently than that. Athletes participating in an internationally famous rock skipping competition have been called out for cheating after their rocks were found to be altered.
It was, I thought, the perfect crime because eventually the rocks do go to the bottom under all the water.
Are they putting like a little WD-40 on their rocks?
they're smoothing them and then like putting like little like grip divots on them.
Oh, that's crazy.
No, you got to use the rock straight from the pile.
Yeah.
It's look, it's about skill, but there's also a little bit of luck. When you take that factor out, you lose what's special.
I mean, this is one of those things where I'm like, yeah, obviously there's value to traditional rock skipping, but like I want to see
I'd like to see both.
Yeah, let's do one where they're allowed to fuck with the rocks as much as they want.
That's right.
I just want to see how many skips we can get if
then
we put our minds to it.
It'd be boring. There's no body of water big enough with an enhanced rock that you can't make it all the way across.
This is how we're
going to do the English Channel one day.
When the EMP comes, when the sun's rays destroy our electric infrastructure, we shall send our messages across the Atlantic by rock skip.
Yep. Because by then we will have made rocks that are advanced enough to circumvent the globe.
Anyway, I guess, you're just supposed to pick one from a pile of naturally occurring rocks, but after doing so, some people they decided to alter them in ways that appeared to give them an edge. Here's the Times. The lighthearted skimming competition, which has put a small Scottish island on the global map, has fallen foul of cheating. Organizers were alerted that some of the participants had been deploying stones that had their rough edges filed off before being flung across the flooded quarry where the tournament is held. Those who broke the rules are believed to have used machines to grind their stones down to achieve near-perfect circular circumferences, ideal sizes, and extremely smooth skimming surfaces before entering the competition. Some are even said to have created a small notch in the stones, which may aid throwing.
That's like having spider tack on your hands when you're a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
Nuh-uh. You grip that ball the old-fashioned way with that dust.
That mud.
Uh-huh. The cheats were spotted by other competitors and volunteers helping to run the event, leading to those involved being questioned by organizers after the tournament ended. Several participants were disqualified after admitting to doctoring their stones. Kyle Matthews, a local GP who acts as the toss master in charge of the event, told the Scottish Mail on Sunday, "I got calls from concerned competitors. They were worried people might think that's how things are done here. I contacted the individuals who admitted their transgressions, and I had to disqualify them. To give them their credit, they deeply apologized for bringing the sport into disrepute and accepted disqualification, and we accept that that's the end of the matter." Well, you know, at least some people out there are able to feel shame, and that's good.
Yeah.
All right, well, we do have more for you in a minute, and if you thought cheating at rock skipping was the wildest sports scandal that you'd hear about on this episode, you're wrong! We'll get to that in a second, but first we got to tell you about this week's sponsor, Shopify, which is great because we've actually launched a store through their service and now have firsthand experience about how easy it is to use their platform. And it is. I'm wearing one of the shirts now.
Look at that. You could look like this.
If you go on, there's a link in the description below. You too could have a cool shirt like this.
Yeah. You probably already know them. You probably already love them. It's Shopify, the best platform for shopping, hosting your own business, and keeping track of all your shipments in one place. There are a ton of amazing duos out there in the world. We're the perfect example, but the best duo is, of course, Shopify and you. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage, to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage, Shopify is there to help you grow.
Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits or offering totally cool t-shirts, some of which were designed by members of our own community, Shopify helps you sell everywhere. From their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system, wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, up to 36% better compared to other leading commerce platforms. No matter how big you want to grow, Shopify gives you everything that you need to take control and take your business to the next level. We, of course, love Shopify's simple and easy-to-use app because it keeps track of all your online shipments, and you can even connect other platforms so that your tracking is all in one place.
Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., and Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, and Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. Plus, Shopify's extensive help resources are there to support your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/itdaily, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/itdaily now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/itdaily.
All right, back to the news, and we will get to that big sports scandal in a second, but we should probably give you an update on the ICE raids that took place in Georgia recently, where hundreds of South Korean workers were detained and in many cases deported back to South Korea during what Homeland Security has been proudly calling their largest raid ever.
Yeah, it's an easy thing to accomplish when you just round up a bunch of people without any consideration at all for their actual legal status.
Or real questioning.
It's very easy to, you can get the biggest raid you want in the history of the universe.
Yeah.
You just arrest the most people.
We showed up at a factory that was admittedly using foreign workers to build such factory, and
they were supposed to be
there. Yeah, there were hundreds of them there, so we took literally hundreds of officers and went there and detained them all.
It's like not even just that, they were training the Americans on how to run that shit. So, this is going to have like knock-on effects for sure.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to be feeling this.
And we spoke about this last week, but a majority of the workers appeared to be in the United States on work visas, allowing them to be here during the construction of the plant and the training. And that was, by the way, a plant that was pitched as bringing thousands of jobs and economic prosperity to rural Georgia, something that the state legitimately asked for and was receiving through a deal that was made with the United States and South Korea that was apparently very beneficial to both parties until it certainly wasn't to South Korea.
No.
The immediate response from the South Korean government was one of confusion and frustration. The raid at the Hyundai Meta plant in Elabel near Savannah followed weeks of investigation and was carried out by hundreds of federal, state, and local officers armed with a judicial search warrant. Although the warrant named 4 individuals, the operation ended with 475 people in custody, many suspected of living or working illegally in the United States. The government has pledged to repatriate them swiftly on a chartered flight, an arrangement that immigration lawyers described as highly unusual.
Yeah, also...
This was the government getting like, oh, fuck, we shouldn't have done that. We can't just not do anything now, though. Let's handle this as nicely as humanly
possible. You guys
possible.
come back, please?
Yeah, can you immediately turn around and come back, by the way?
Also, if they were only there to arrest 4 people, why did they send like 400 cops?
That's what you need. Clearly, those 4 people were going to hide amidst the hundreds of people that were supposed to be there.
Stupid.
Yeah.
A Hyundai Motor spokesperson said some staff had been asked to suspend non-essential trips to the U.S. LG Energy Solutions has also suspended staff business trips to the U.S. other than certain exceptional cases and will be recalling South Korea-based employees now in the country. The raid stunned many in South Korea because the country is a key U.S. ally. It agreed in July to purchase $100 billion in U.S. energy and make a $350 billion investment in the U.S. in return for the country lowering tariff rates. Seoul has expressed its unhappiness about the arrests and the public release of the footage showing the operation, which involved armored vehicles and the shackling of workers. South Korean President Lee said the rights of South Korean nationals and economic activities of South Korean companies must not be unfairly infringed upon during U.S. law enforcement procedures. South Korea's foreign ministry separately issued a statement to express concern and regret over the case and sent diplomats to the site. And it sounded bad enough when we first heard about it. We just knew the details. Like, okay, that's bad. But now that the workers are safely back in South Korea, some of them are talking about their experience. And the Korean president is once again expressing doubt about the two countries' relationship moving forward, because these people had a much worse time than we even assumed looking at it originally. We're like, okay, they all got like roughed up and handcuffed. That's pretty bad. But I'm sure they sorted this out quickly.
Nope, they drove them hundreds of miles away to ICE detention facilities and just held them against their will.
They stuffed them in like essentially a pit with no lights and treated them treated them very badly. Yeah. Here's The Guardian.
Some of the workers told local media about appalling conditions during their arrest, including allegations they were held without being informed of their rights. When asked about these allegations, the presidential office in Seoul said it was conducting a thorough review. Both our side and the U.S. are checking if there were any shortcomings in the measures taken, and companies are also looking into it, the presidential spokesperson Kang Yoo-jung told a press briefing. Together with the company concerned, we are conducting a more thorough review into possible human rights infringements. One of the workers told Yonhap news agency that their rights were not read when they were arrested. The worker also told the agency they were angry that ICE agents mocked them with remarks about North Korea and Rocket Man, an insult Trump has previously used about Pyongyang's leader Kim Jong-un.
Americans are so fucking stupid.
South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung called the raid bewildering and noted it could have a chilling effect on future investment.
Yeah.
South Korean companies can't help but question whether setting up a plant in the U.S. is worth the potential risks, Lee said.
It's not. Don't do it.
In what seemed to be a response, Trump said on Sunday that foreign workers were welcome and he did not want to scare investors.
Yeah. Great job, idiots.
Yeah.
All right, now over to the biggest scandal rocking the sports world, and this time it actually has nothing to do with gambling.
Can you believe it?
I know. It's kind of weird to have no gambling element. It's just what appears to be good old-fashioned American greed.
American greed. This will definitely be an episode of American Greed if what they're accusing this company of is actually true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, for the unaware, the easiest way to explain the Savannah Bananas is that they are the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball.
That's right.
They're playing exhibition games that lean more on theatrics, stunts, and choreographed dance moves more than anything resembling traditional baseball rules. Purists need not apply.
No, get out. Banana ball is not for you.
Yeah, and they never come here.
They did come to Anaheim and they sold it out.
That's
they sold
not-
out Angel Stadium. I think it was the first baseball game that was sold out there this year, was the banana ball one.
Too far.
My friend went to it.
To LA?
He said it was a torturous experience.
Yeah?
He said his review is that it like made him question like reality because look, I get it. I was watching this stuff during the pandemic and I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I'd go see this.
It's silly.
But it's very different when you're watching like a 30-second clip that's edited on Instagram or TikTok versus sitting at an actual baseball game for like 3 hours as they do these goofy stunts and try to like make it entertaining for an entire day.
Yeah. So it's not enjoyable?
He did not have a good time.
Oh. Well, I guess not that I'll ever
But
know.
he's a real stick in the mud like you. He's
Not that I'll ever know, because they're all going to prison, including the mascot.
and all the players. Is there a mascot? The giant banana,
it's a
right?
big banana.
It's the banana with dreadlocks and the Rastafarian hat with the cigar. Yeah.
So yeah, videos of their games have been going viral for years because of just how ridiculous and cool it looks for someone to hit a ball that was thrown by a man on stilts using a flaming bat. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it is cool.
That is nice.
They've grown their team into an entertainment powerhouse that has sold out major league stadiums around the country, and apparently they've been running a charity on the side that uses the power of banana ball for good. Or does it?
Yeah.
Or does it?
The power of banana ball has been used for evil for far too long.
So unfortunately, based on some recent, very in-depth reporting from Defector, it looks like the Savannah Bananas charitable legacy may be a bit tarnished.
Yeah. Now, the claims made in the article make it sound like any number of sketchy charity nonprofits where just the majority of the money coming in to that nonprofit is actually just used for administrative fees and paying people involved, with, of course, a fraction of the money going to actual charitable causes. There are many such cases.
Yeah, we're not profiting because instead of the company keeping the money, we just give it to the people running the company.
Yeah.
So we didn't profit.
You got to pay people. Now, the article goes a step further and claims that the people heavily involved in Banana Ball overall might be using charitable funds to double dip by paying themselves for merchandise and experiences that have been awarded to people in need. The one bonus in all of this is that throughout the story, everything is banana-themed, despite this being a pretty massive accusation against an otherwise very wholesome-seeming operation. So we'll let Defector take it from here. Full article always down in the description below. Bananas Foster describes itself as the official nonprofit of Banana Ball, the barnstorming baseball league that hosts the Savannah Bananas. Its mission, per executive director Jolie Chabala, is celebrating the foster care community while educating and inspiring others to get involved. Bananas Foster is featured prominently on the websites of both the league and its marquee team, and the Bananas run a Bananas Foster promotion at all of their exhibitions, which tend to sell out everywhere they go.
The Bananas Foster proposition has it that tens of thousands of people are gathered together in a baseball stadium for a banana ball exhibition, and the vast majority of them are not involved in what Chabala calls the foster care community. Bananas Foster captures that attention and redirects it, and reaps a reward for its cause in the form of tangible engagement. The readiest form of tangible engagement is a donation. Bananas Foster solicits donations from its paying audience during its in-game promotions. Bananas Foster runs 2 programs. The smaller of the 2, in terms of cost and logistical burden, is called Potassium Care Baskets. These are care packages distributed by the charity to foster families in need. Created with essential needs, Bananas swag and personalized items for each family member, reads the Bananas Foster website. This program constitutes the direct support that Bananas Foster provides to foster families. The 990 form, reviewed by a defector, indicates that the organization distributed 70 of these care packages in 2024 at a cost of $13,770, or a little bit less than $200 per basket. For frame of reference, this is approximately as much as Bananas Foster reported spending in 2024 on information technology.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't no baskets.
True, there were 70 baskets, which is certainly noble, although I'm sure that they were making a lot more. The other program run by Bananas Foster is called Go Bananas for Game Day. This program is the manifestation of the organization's mission to uplift and shine a positive light on people engaged in foster care. For this program, Bananas Foster invites a foster family to a banana ball game for what Chabala calls a full VIP experience, including a behind-the-scenes tour, some team merchandise, and a trip down to the field where the family's story is shared with the crowd and they are celebrated in the middle of the show. It costs about $500 a family to come out to the game, said Chabala during her initial conversation with Defector on August 21st, explaining the Bananas Foster pitch to would-be donors. Because again, we're a separate entity from the Savannah Bananas, so the tickets and the merchandise and all of that comes from Bananas Foster. Going by this description from Chabala, Bananas Foster, the official nonprofit of Banana Ball, the corporate parent of the Savannah Bananas, uses donor funds to purchase tickets and merchandise from the Savannah Bananas in order to invite guests to the Savannah Bananas baseball games. This piece of information is backed up by the nonprofit's 2024 Form 990.
Well, this is some like Hollywood accounting.
Yeah, it definitely seems like if the excuse from the heads at this charity was that, okay, we want to do a charity, and admittedly, I guess the people who own the entire league are foster parents. So they're probably like, okay, we want to do a charity. There's got to be a company who can run a charity for us. And then like this company or some company specializes in doing it this way, because this seems like exactly how a bunch of other charities are run. And that's why you go on something like Charity Navigator to figure out which ones are actually sending the most money to people in need.
Yeah, they're paying themselves.
Yeah, because in this scenario, they're paying themselves for their products. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So they go further, breaking down the costs and expenditures of the charity, and they bring up how this gets even more confusing when you consider that the head of the charity is married to and also co-owner of the company that owns all of Banana Ball and every team in the league. So the research into this article appears to have led to a pretty defensive stance from representatives for the companies, and a quote from Charity Watch where they described the reports as troubling.
Yeah.
And an insistence from the league that they're still trying to figure out this whole nonprofit charity thing.
Well, you'll figure it out, I guess, after this.
These are the,
I hope you do.
These are the growing pains that we expected.
I didn't know I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Whew. I mean, like in their defense, like the nonprofit world in this country, the entire nonprofit world in this country is extremely corrupt.
Yeah, it is set
I
up.
didn't know I couldn't do that.
It is kind of set up to do stuff like this.
What? It seemed like something you'd be able to do, given all the other shady shit you're allowed to do.
Yeah, it reminds me of like people who just took PPE loans or whatever.
Yeah, what? Everyone was doing it.
Yeah.
Like, it was free money from the government.
What? I didn't know I couldn't do that.
But yeah, I mean, they might be telling the truth about
Not knowing, yeah.
Not knowing, but yeah, it also seems like some pretty weird accounting is going on behind the scenes, whether they are aware of it or not. And the author ends the article pointing out that the owners of Banana Ball are foster parents, so it's clearly something that they are passionate about. But the way that they're operating their charity is, at the very least, sketchy. The record currently shows that they instead spend less than 5% of their revenue on direct aid to foster families and less than a fifth of their revenue hosting one family at a time at their baseball games. When pressed on this, their explanation is that their CFO is unqualified and they don't have much experience with this.
Which might be true.
That could be.
It seems
because that's like another thing. Like the CFO of like a for-profit business is a very different job than the CFO of a nonprofit. Like it's a lot more shit you have to like understand.
Yeah, the way that this is set up certainly seems very suspicious for like offsetting taxes or paying people in the company directly for things that probably shouldn't have been paid for with charity money. But hey, who knows?
They probably were just like, oh shit, pretty cool. We
hey, one of those loopholes everyone's been talking about.
We buy the tickets for the games from ourselves.
And the whole thing's a write-off.
We get to pay ourselves, and then we get to write that off.
And then everyone thinks we're really good about it and donating to charity, which is true. People did receive things.
Yeah.
So
I'm surprised, there was like a period, like post-COVID, where like people on TikTok were like, with a straight face, like just describing like financial crimes, like
it's not a Ponzi scheme.
as if they're like life hacks, multiple ways. This was like a recurring thing. I'm surprised that that nonprofits never became part of that. A lot of it's just like, here's what you got to do: you register an LLC, and then you do this and this and this.
Yeah.
Like first comments, like, I'm a lawyer, you got to delete this right now.
Please, you're committing financial fraud.
Don't actually do what you're describing in this video, and delete this fucking video right now.
Yeah. You're not smart. Someone has done this and gone to jail for it already. So, seems like a pretty bombshell report. I'm very curious to watch the inevitable Netflix documentary about this because it has everything is there. It's a viral sensation that is using the goodwill of its participants and fan base to potentially not do such nice things. I don't know. Anyways, that's it for today's video. We will, of course, be back with so much more. There's a lot going on, and we have more episodes to cover it coming up. In the meantime, make sure you like the video. Really does help us out, believe it or not. Leave a comment, talk about something. It doesn't even have to be a sad thing. You can just talk about something fun down in the comments below.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone that's posting the photos of your merch showing up. We appreciate your orders and are very happy to see you with the stuff that you ordered. So keep that up. There will be a link below, but I believe it's internettodaymerch.com. Check that out. And if you can, please watch our previous videos over here. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.